right, so let's first hear from our Board of Trustees, and they have selected 3 pillars. And I'll ask
That was quick.
Chair Stonecipher, would you like to share?
Oh, we're gonna get rid of them.
We have 1, 2 buddies.
Got nothing. They turned it off. Oh, there we go.
Yes, they did allow us to caucus again.
So we had a difficult time thinking big picture, which isn't too surprising, but we, as a table, are on board with a lot of very similar things. It's a matter of how to fine-tune those into something that's 30,000 feet. But we will give it our best shot. So the first one we came up with was economic opportunity and mobility. And a lot of the phrasing came back to center of economic opportunity and mobility. We want to be the hub, the engine of that within Pinellas County. We can define that later, but some of the things we're looking at for that, we're building talent pipelines, opportunity for our businesses to hire and for our students to train. We're the plan, not the fallback, making sure that we're the first ones, the municipalities, that businesses come to when they need help, and we can partner and do something with them. The second item we came up with centered around the collegiate environment. A 1 SPC idea that not only means that all the campuses, while different, need to be working together as one college. That means that everyone's getting the same opportunities and the same experience no matter where they're taking classes, no matter where they're attending school or going to the library. And that includes the faculty as well, student and faculty having the same opportunities. And some of this also falls back to collegiate environment, meaning how are the students engaging with what's going on these campuses? Do they feel a part of St. Petersburg College? Branding could fall under this. There's a lot of different ways we could go with building that 1 SPC idea and having people be very proud of where they've chosen to go to school. And then finally, we talked a lot about community diversity and inclusion. This was, as we discussed it, a way we see for the school to partner with the community and be the lead in those community connections. A lot of that would then fall to having a great diversity and inclusion because of how in-depth and involved we are with what's going on, not only in Pinellas County, but in Hillsborough as well, and those surrounding. Did I miss anything? Is that good? Good explanation?
All right.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for our Board of Trustees. Good work. I know that you all were doing good work in your teams. Some of you got a little bit overzealous, but that's okay. Let's go with Team 1 and ask if your spokesperson would please share the top pillar.
Do I need a microphone or do I? Sure. I don't have to.
Delegate.
Our top pillar was authentic community. I think we're number 13. Oh, number 10. Authentic community, and by that we meant we want to be real with each other and serve the actual people that are in our classrooms and in our community, and not just sort of an idea of what we want them to be or what we expect them to be, but actually kind of look around to our, and I know Dr. Williams talks about this a lot. We talked a lot about the community of care and serving real people, not just serving the idea of people. So that was our number 1 thing, and I think it aligns with a lot of the things that you guys were talking about, almost touches on all 3 of them. So that was our main thing. Thank you.
Any clarifications, board members, for Team 1? Pretty clear? All right, Team 2.
Right here.
Good morning, Joe Leopold. So, why is everyone laughing? What? Well, it's just, I feel really good. We're in a good place, right? Where's our choice here? Our pillar is workforce and economic development. Is it up there, please? There we go. 3. Okay. We feel that this is the direction that is going to shape where we're going. It's a phrase we've used before many times, but it's one in which it encompasses the things that we've already mentioned here. A student-ready college, community engagement, career and educational pathways. More to the point of the table, we had discussions about building closer ties to businesses, including partnerships, increasing the upward mobility of our students in the communities that we serve, connections to alumni who serve as success mentors and as examples of graduates working in insurance offices and other locations around the county. And finally, this has some implications for branding that we feel that we can move forward with. Sound good, team? All right. Thank you.
All right, team 3.
We basically had to do this as an illustration so that it just helps us get the picture. And so transformation is going to be our key term, but it serves as the foundation, transformation of the individual, not just the student, but faculty and staff. And then our pillars, which are supposed to strengthen and uphold your vision, are the ones that you see there: education, career development, and personal growth, which ultimately will then transform our community.
So in developing ours, which is a unified culture of care and trust, we piggybacked off of the famous quote by Peter Drucker that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And we really feel that we need to develop a culture here that not only shows a genuine community of care, but also that establishes and maintains trust throughout the organization. And so if you're familiar with Covey, you know that in the book Leading at the Speed of Trust, Covey says that as trust goes up, so does speed of operations and cost goes down. So if that holds true, then we really need to focus on both care and trust in developing our culture here at SPC.
The other aspect that I wanted to add to that is unified is the one college as well.
I just want to say I had to do the keyboard and now I'm talker. Thanks, team. I'm Shannon Ulrich, faculty member. So when we were talking, we hit on basically all 3 points that you all had hit on. And one of the things that kind of kept coming out of my mouth was ecosystem. Because energy flows into an ecosystem, it's transferred, it's transformed, so we can kind of think about that in terms of learning, right? So we're taking that and we're transferring it and we're subsequently transforming lives. And kind of keeping that within our own community as well and making it grow and flourish. So with that, we came up with several different ideas. We were one of the overzealous teams. We had 5, we got yelled at for that. And as we were trying to take them out, they turned it off so we couldn't. So you're seeing, one of our top one was one voice that is communicated powerfully. And this topic refers not only to the community and how the community perceives us, but we also perceive the community and how we can open our doors and tell them that we can open our doors, but also at the level of SPC itself, being able to communicate effectively to build the trust, become more efficient, get that enrollment up, and everybody's happy. And then we also had, we really liked this one, so it's hard to kind of take this one out, but exploring the future today. So basically showing our students that if you come here, you can make your tomorrow better by what you're doing today, by what we heard when one of the students at graduation spoke, sacrificing a little bit of today to better your tomorrow. So that really kind of resounded in our team. And that's it.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Borzuski. We also had several, but we did bring it down to one. We're good direction followers.
Smiley wanted to comply. You did.
So we actually mirrored quite a bit of the culture of care conversation, but we really did it through the lens of innovation. And so we talked about the difference between initiatives and a true culture of innovation. We talked about feeling empowered to respond to student needs, to innovate, and stay on the edge of really what's happening in the moment for students and for our community.
I think I get to speak because I was in the corner back here. So, hi, Team 7. We did probably what we weren't supposed to do first. We dove down really deep into everything, and then we went back up to 60,000 feet because we all kind of looked at each other and were like, wow, we're getting in the weeds with this. So, and we drew a picture because that helped us kind of think about what we are doing for our community, for our students, for our employees, and for ourselves. So we came up with a pillar that has 3 prongs to it. So we kind of bent the rules a little bit. But we kept coming back to the thing that was resonating with us is that we are the community's college. And then we kind of thought, what does that mean? What does that mean to the folks in the community? Why did they come to us? We had a lot of conversations about what you all mentioned with transformation, growth, what were kind of the first step for the next step, that kind of stuff. And for us, the community's college means scholarship, partnership, and care. And that spells SPC. So you can add all kinds of fun stuff. All right, I'm gonna let everybody stand up here because we all thought that was really cool.
So good stuff, yes? All right, so Board of Trustees, we now have all kinds of excellent pillars for you to consider. We'll backtrack just for a moment and we'll revisit the ones that we brought forward: economic opportunity and mobility, collegiate environment, which was the one SPC, community diversity and inclusion. Now let's go back to some of our teams, and do we have others that you want to bring forward as possible additions to, or we can synthesize at this point? Which ones really resonated with you?
Yeah, I think I'll jump in here. The good news is a lot of these are saying the same thing or similar things. In my mind, I don't think we're too far off as a group thinking about what we want the foundational pillars of this institution to be. I will just say a couple that jumped off the page that maybe could be incorporated. I love the idea of culture of innovation and what that means. Just adding that to what we want the overall culture of the college to be. That could also lead right into number 6, which is a college of exploring the future today. What a great way to phrase that, and hopefully communicate the opportunity and the potential that is here for those who may not even know it. And then one more I was going to hit on was the authentic community, especially because that's a lot of what we had the conversation around, and I know a lot of what Dr. Williams speaks to is we're not talking about hypotheticals or a number on a page. We're talking about real people who are stepping into the classroom or logging online, and how do we connect with them, and how do we make sure that they're learning and then increasing their upward mobility through life, which is something we touched on too. So I'm trying to think big picture here and how we can incorporate all these things, but I think a lot of it will come down to how do we define each of these pillars that we set up, and how do some of these things fall under those big ideas. And I'm going to have Andrea help me, summarize all that.
Well, those three.
So those three in particular, Chair Stone-Cipher, they do align well with the three you all selected. Do you see that you'd like to tweak yours? For example, authentic community, would you want to add the word authentic in this particular bucket in any way? Would you want to look at the culture of innovation and potentially add it into the collegiate environment?
With respect to our number 3 there, one of the things we were struggling with was, and this is more a branding question, but how to really reflect the inclusiveness of the college. So I really like the communities college with respect to number 3. Again, that might more just be wordsmithing and a brand as opposed to a vision, but I think that was a great reflection of what we were trying to come up with, I think.
So the only thing I'll say, and there are no bad ideas, but we do get to disagree and have a conversation, right? Is I think that discounts our ability to provide baccalaureate programs, and I think it's a step backwards to a community college, and I have a real issue with that.
But is that saying the communities college? Not that we're saying community, it's we belong to, how many communities do we have in Pinellas? Like 24
24.
census designated. So we're near just about every one of those communities. And one of the things that I think when we talk about being the plan and not the fallback is being in those communities. I see what you're saying about the community college as if we don't, baccalaureate is not there. And depending on where we are, SPC is sometimes considered a community college, and sometimes we're considered a state college that offers baccalaureate degrees. But when I'm looking at a lot of the post-secondary groups in Pinellas, they are trying to be the communities, to be a part of the communities that we're in. So what would we use as a different, phrase that would still make us the communities? That we belong to Seminole and St. Pete Beach and Tarpon and Clearwater and South St. Pete and West St. Pete and Pinellas Park and right, Kenneth City, Northeast. So I think whoever did the communities college, can you expound on if I'm getting it or missing?
That's exactly where we were going. That's where we were going.
How do you guys feel about that? It's a decision of the board.
Is there another word?
That's what I was doing, and it's going to
Going
thesaurus.
to thesaurus other than community, but it's almost like your community's college.
Yeah.
Your community.
But if there's another word, because I appreciate that point.
Yeah, Dr. Kemp just brought out, what about your community's state college?
Or your community, your college.
How about just your college?
Your community, your college.
Ooh.
Your college. Ooh. What about your community, your college?
Oh, that's good. I like that. Because I agree with you, your community's college, it's gonna make it sound like
A community college. But what about your community, your college? That doesn't sound.
And that also, that kind of also suggests that if you want to get a 4-year degree, we have those too. It's your college and you can get what you want. It's here. Great job.
Neighborhood.
It is also says start here.
So that's on our pillar with respect to being out in the partnerships and the inclusion.
Sounds like that's resonating with everybody. Your community, your college.
Yeah,
It goes down to how we define it.
Then we go to. All right, how about collegiate environment? Do we want to expand that? That was the one SPC pillar.
Going back to that, I feel like that incorporates a lot of the culture and care conversation that we heard throughout the room, and it's something we talked about as well. So unified culture of care and trust. Go back to what we, so I think that's a huge part of the collegiate environment, is that idea of a culture of care and trust. And it's kind of where we thought that would be best suited as we discussed it.
But if we say culture of care and trust, does that communicate to a student or an investor?
I think it just falls under that category.
It falls under
I don't
that
know if
category.
it necessarily
Okay.
needs to be titled that. In my mind, I mean, that's where we discussed it.
Yes. We would like to make a suggestion to put
Sure.
collegiate learning environment. Because we're all.
Yeah, I think that incorporates everything.
Does that exclude student activities?
That's organic.
I don't know.
One of the things
About collegiate experience.
One of the things we're hoping with the collegiate environment is to make sure that folks know this is a college. We have athletics, we have clubs, we have learning, we have tutoring, we have a lot of things going on that happens in a collegiate environment, which also includes respect, it includes support, includes care. So if we put learning in there, that might narrow that concept. So what else could we, what is environment the right word, Heather?
So we're really not pushing our pillars. But everybody at the table back here kept going back to scholarship. Again, in scholarly, Ryan said maybe scholarly, just that whole professional. Because we're thinking about not just our students, but also our employees and our community members. That scholarship can mean a lot of different things to folks. And yes, it is a collegiate environment. But
Does scholarship sound academic?
I don't know, you guys wordsmithed it, but it was almost, I think when we were talking about it, it was sort of that personal growth, the inclusion, the innovation, we even talked about integrity being a part of scholarship, that it can mean a different thing depending on what you're coming to SBC for.
And we worked pretty hard we did that all of the taglines, we were really good at taglines. We did getting good at taglines. And the hardest thing was when you're going into the grocery store and someone says, can you tell me what your strategic plan is about? You're looking for the 3 words or the 5 words. So if you're your community, your college, then what are the 5 things you represent? And education just seems kind of like blah. So and then I don't know how we ended up with we had partnership, and then we had care.
Then we said scholastic.
Scholastic, and that sounded horrible. And all of a sudden we realized we had SPC. So it was just a nice way of rounding out the statements. So I'm not saying go that way, but if you're asked at a grocery store, you'll want to have it roll off. And coming up with a collegiate learning environment and long taglines will make it harder for you to express the pillars that you're working on. That's my
Could we encompass more by saying collegiate culture instead of environment?
We could do culture.
Is that broad the perspective to include things like athletics, community outreach, all the other things that we do?
Well, and then that also goes to the faculty and to the...
Yeah, culture I think can encompass everything. It also reminds me, Shannon, was it your group that used the word ecosystem?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm picturing in my head, right, is how do we phrase this so that it's all encompassing? I think, I don't know, culture works well with that.
Or ecosystem.
Or ecosystem.
I like it. I used it with the Seminole
Do we
education.
as an institution embrace lifelong learning, and would we ever want to say scholarship and lifelong learning?
We could, but that still seems more academic only in nature. we could, say scholarship. I think one of the things that we realize, to help students succeed, you have to serve the whole student. And so they know that we're an academic institution, we're a college, but I cannot tell you how many times I have people say, we didn't know you had a debate team. I didn't know you had athletics. We didn't know you did this. I would have come had I known this, you know. So to get to a more collegiate atmosphere or way of being, right, is important, and we'll still be able to highlight the scholarship and the academic success and learning. That is a big part of what we do. It's huge. But I believe it's important that we remind students we're serving the whole student, and we remind employees. One of the things that the board talked a lot about was the employee experience and mutual respect and trust and things of that nature. I know Trustee Stonecipher kept coming back to the employees. I think we talked a little bit to make sure that the employee is included in that. So it's not just student focused as well as also employee focused.
Could those two things be teased out a little bit? I don't know if they could be two different pillars, but the idea of scholarship and learning and, you know, faculty working together to innovate, students really engaging with, you know, their own minds and their own goals and that whole thing. And does that need to be separated out from the very important piece, but maybe separate, which is getting engaged on campus and being in clubs and going to events and things like that? You know, part of the reason we support those things so much isn't just because students like them, but because research says if you are engaged, then this happens. But ultimately, this is what we actually want, you know. So I don't know, do those need to be separated at such a high level, or are we trying to conflate two things that can't be conflated?
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to say is we want St. Pete College to be a great place to learn, work, and play. Or learn, work, and grow. Whatever it is. If you're an employee, you're going to learn, work, and grow. If you're a student, you'll learn, work, and grow. So how do we express that, you know, in a way that when people read that, they totally understand it? Wow, St. Pete College is a great college to learn. If I'm a student, it's a great college to work. If I'm an employee, it's a great college for all of us to grow. Adam?
Well, first of all, I think that's a great way to say it. I think that should always be a pillar. Learn, work, and grow. I mean, I'm a slogan guy. I love that, okay? The other thing is, and you can say it all sorts of ways, there should be a value proposition in being a part of this family. A value proposition. That there's a reason here versus elsewhere. And we came up with the one thing, exploring the future today. It could be exploring the future today, leading the future today, serving the future today. But I think something that talks about the future. So we're tomorrow's winner, okay? And you could be a part of being tomorrow's winner today, right here. And that says to me that we're doing something here others aren't doing. Does that make sense? That goes into the whole question of, well, why SPC? And how do you answer why SPC? You have to have something that says, we do something that others aren't doing. And then everything else, I think, folds into that from the vision that the board's come up with.
Thank you. Trustee members, where are we?
Landing with our three. They're taking shape here. What about economic opportunity and mobility? Do we want to revisit some of the other teams' ideas to make sure we've captured everything in that area? The key for our success going forward is to make sure these three pillars are broad enough to contain all of the rich strategies we've just been talking about. So we don't want to limit ourselves in any way.
Don't like to? Or don't you like better?
I think you're right. We talked about, and I think Mr. Goodman spoke on it too, you know, being a great place to work, learn, and play, or learn, work, and play, or something like that. Learn, work, and grow.
Learn,
Yes,
work,
I
and
agree.
grow.
I guess my thing is,
That's the
everybody has a need to work.
Well, I kept saying experience, and that's kind of a buzzword these days anyways. I think it should be collegiate experience, and I think that as parents, that's what we talk to our kids about. Part of why we want them to go is for that collegiate experience.
Does it make you ask more? Economic opportunity and mobility. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? Like community culture, like community.
It's hard for us to hear, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't allow you to ask the next. It doesn't allow you to ask the next.
Sorry.
This is a lot. It doesn't allow you to ask the next question. So under the first one, economic opportunity and mobility, you say, what does that mean? So you can explain it, right? Even on your community one, you're like, what does that mean? It's just like, it sounds like every other, if you put one mic right there. Whose is this one? Oh. Okay, fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It doesn't allow for you to give the explanation or I think under the other ones, there's a lot that can fit under their collegiate experience or opportunity. Just sounds like any other college in the country. Like it doesn't allow for you to go to that. Doesn't bring up the next question, right? And the other ones do, I believe.
But isn't that part of what Dr. Williams kind of wants to insinuate with that is we are like other colleges where you can have athletics and you can have these clubs. Isn't that, I mean, I know that goes away from innovation, but isn't that what we're trying to also invoke here is, even though this is a community college or state college, you can still...
So, let me ask this question. Yours was explore your future today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That could include your collegiate sports because you could be playing in the junior, what they call in the JUCO league now, and go on to a Division I. You could come here and be in a math class and you want to be an astronaut, or you could want to be in science and so on. You know, all that stuff could fall. But when somebody said, when you make that statement that you made, it makes you think about, well, what does that mean? And what does it mean to me? Right? It'd be different for everybody, but it still is that experience. Right? Without saying college experience or collegiate experience.
Yeah.
But I think
I see what you're saying.
Under number 2, I think we also want to capture the importance of the administrative side of the house and, you know, what are we doing, what goals are we going to create the next 3 years to be sure that there is, that we are scheduling and providing the correct classes and getting the transparency between all of those other.
So you're providing that same experience under all those things. Streamlining processes, making sure that you have the opportunity to build your future countywide with a schedule that is on each campus, or the master schedule, whatever you call it. I mean, you could attach every one of those things to that theme that they were talking about, or the scholarship one too.
Team 6 and 7. You mentioned revisiting some of the.
Can't hear you.
Sorry.
You want me to bring the mic back here?
Okay. You mentioned revisiting some of the other slogans or mottos that were. I actually, after thinking about it, I actually liked Heather's.
It was Team 7.
Team 7.
Team
Sorry,
7.
Team
Collaborative.
7. Thinking about what you're saying about slogans being simple, meaningful, and that you don't have to explain them. Scholarship, partnership, and care.
Yeah, that's
really encompasses what you all are saying, but it's simple. Just food for thought out there. It's really good.
Thank you.
And I was just going to add, if we keep your community, your college, I think we have to make sure you start here, you get your foundation here. We want you to come here first and think of us first. So it kind of brings in branding and things like that. But part of your community, your college is come here. We want you to come here first. We can prepare you for anything. We can, you know.
And I think Trustee Gibbons makes a really good point. What do we do different? What makes SPC special? I mean, we've got students that come from a variety of different communities, different counties, all around the country. And it really is that foundational educational experience, which then becomes transformational, it becomes innovative, it becomes the next step, it becomes your future. But we talk a lot about even the students that leave us and our alumni. They come back to us as if we're like a touchstone to them, that we've provided that solid foundation to guide them quite literally through the rest of their life and to their dreams.
And then Jesse, Dr. Coraggio?
Thanks. I like all the things that are up here. Let me start with that, and I think we're having great conversation around where we need to go next. What if we just call it, I had two thoughts. One, what do we just call it the Titan experience? I mean, if that's what we're trying to create, this whole image of the Titan and the collegial, why don't we call it the Titan experience and then describe what the Titan experience is? The second thing is I really want to support Melanie's comment, because I had the same thought and was trying to jump up behind the pole to make the same comment that she did. I really feel like, as an institution, I want to suggest to the board that we have a fourth pillar that's about education. Because I understand that's what we do and everybody understands that that's what we do, but I feel like it's a pillar that needs to sit on its own right. And whether we call it education or teaching and learning or scholarship, I feel like there should be one place that's specifically entitled to what our core mission is. Thank you.
Team 5 seconds.
Yeah, I would like to second that. And I would like to advocate for Team 5's idea, which is, and what Devron was just talking about, explore your future today. Look, we're either going to write these so we feel good and it's academic and it's solid, or we're going to write it as real people talk and as real people remember. If you want recall on these ideas, talk the way people talk and give them something they can remember. It's not, and this is not about any of the worthiness of the ideas. It's about the recall and rallying aspect of these ideas, and we want to show there's also something else about it, which is attitude. It's one of the things we talked about in the transition committee. We have to have an attitude here, that we're going to be better than anybody out there, that we're going to be cutting edge, that we're going to flex to where other people did not flex or cannot flex, that we get to yes a lot faster, that we communicate powerfully, that we are one. We speak with one voice, with one idea, and we're all together. And so if we want to have that attitude, I'm advocating very strongly as a brander and messaging person, that we reflect that in the language of this vision. Don't go for the okay, that says it all, as opposed to wow. I think we need more of the wow factor.
I agree with that, and I'm also thinking as I'm going through this, who are the students that we want to be bringing in? What do they look like? Who are they? Do we want to go out for those 18-year-olds? And that's who our focus is now going to be on. Bringing them to campus, getting them involved. Or is it going to be the students that we have now who look a little bit differently now? I think until we know who our target is, and target sounds harsh, but you have to have someone in mind that you're building this college for. And I haven't heard that. I've heard it from a number of different students describe this. I don't think we can be clear until we're clear on who that student is.
I don't know if we should be addressing a target, because we're about inclusion, right? And so if we start targeting, then we lead to exclusion, and we start just focusing on one population. And
well, some of the language I'm hearing is very exclusionary. Not everyone's going to be interested in athletics. Not everyone's able to come to campus. Some students are in other states. Do we want to continue that, in which case we need to include all of them in the vision, or do we want to modify that?
That's why we're saying explore your future today, and then we can talk about, we talked a lot about diversity too, and making sure that we're including the diversity, whether it be, and not just, gender and age, but online modalities, online if you have the opportunity to come onto campus or not. And in the transition team, we also talked about having ways that we can incorporate, say, our online learners into the collegiate experience, if you will. How we can have maybe some live streaming for them, how we can have some online groups and clubs for them. So I don't think we're trying to exclude. We don't want to.
Well,
we shouldn't want to.
That's what I'm saying. We just want to make sure that we aren't, because I remember that from the transition team.
All right, a couple more quick comments, and then we're going to come back to the Board of Trustees and ask you all to take this all in. Please.
Hi, in case some of you don't know me, I'm Fatma Hadea. I am SGA president for Clearwater. I am a student, and I am what a lot of those students look like. So there is a big, diverse amount of students. They're from 18 until probably 90 that are there. So it's not just one, we can't exclude anyone, and we can't just say this is for, we're only going to focus on one group, because our community college is a community. It's not just one age group.
I just want to add on to this conversation and say that Dr. Caraggio's idea of the Titan experience really feels like it fits all of those different student groups really well. Because Dr. Clark, when you were talking about which student group do we want to target, my answer was resounding yes to all of them. And I think that the Titan experience, we can then describe how we have activities or engagement that fit you at whatever stage of life you may be in.
So all kinds of good feedback.
So overwhelmed, let them come.
Board members, what do you think about the Titan experience?
I've been thinking a lot about that. And I guess whether it's a pillar or a branding, a tagline, we are Titans, building Titans daily. If you think about what a Titan is, it's a Titan in the industry. I wrote down giant, stands out for greatness and achievement, powerful, influential. We're producing Titans daily, building Titans daily. So I like the Titan experience. You don't have to be an athlete. You could be a musician and an athlete. You can be a math whiz. You can want to be a teacher. You can want to be a cop. You can want to be a nurse. You can want to be all of these programs that we have, we're building Titans daily. I like that. I don't know where that goes. That does go into the collegiate experience, but I don't know. I kind of got lost in the branding element, but I like it.
I had a comment. I think a lot of this, in my mind, is separated between
marketing and branding. Maybe that's exactly what you were saying. We don't have to lose the Titan experience, and even the comment I made about your community, your college. That's maybe more of a branding thing. Am I under a speaker? There we go. But on the other side, I think the more specific stuff, isn't that the strategic plan is more for you and for Dr. Williams to plan over the next 5 years. So those things, I mean, I know the community will see that, but isn't it more for us to make a plan? And the branding stuff is more the community-facing student recruitment, right? I mean, I'm trying to understand the difference.
I think that's absolutely correct, and I think as we listen to the conversation around the room, there's a fine line, right, between what we want as our overreaching, overarching pillars of the college and how we can brand it and make it stand out. And maybe there are ways to do both at the same time, but I don't want to get too lost in the weeds with the branding side of it. So as we look back, Dr. Williams, do you have something to add?
I did. So, at the end of the day, I think my big question is, what do we want SPC to be known for over the next 3 years? What do we, at the end of the day, will fall on our swords and say, this is what we want to be known for. This is who we are and what we want to be known for. And so everything that we've talked about will either help us along that way or is actually pillar worthy. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you think about what you want to be known for, And you hear me talk a lot about helping people get out of poverty, changing lives, transforming Pinellas County into being a better place to live, work, and play, okay? So when we talk about our pillars, because some of the things we've talked about, they really are branding ideas, and they're excellent. They're better than some of the things we have. But at the end of the day, what 3 things, I was hoping for 5, but I better stick with 3, do we want to be known for in this county that sets us apart, as Trustee Foster said, what makes SPC stand above everyone else, and what will we be known for, what will we be good at? And so if we say education, what does that mean? And we'll talk about it, but if we say we want, in 3 years, we want to make sure that we're known for being great educators and providing excellent learning, then that would be a pillar. If we say we want to be known for moving this county and bringing about economic opportunity and mobility for the citizens of Pinellas and beyond, that would be a pillar. So I feel like I'm getting ready to preach, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. Pass it, election plate. But I do want to make sure that we stay on the high level and stay in the visionary pieces of what do we want to be known for. And all the other pieces will either be a part of the marketing and branding, or part of the objectives that we put in play, the things that we're going to measure our success on and what we do. And I just want to make sure we don't confuse the in the weeds things with the overarching vision pieces. And so that's what we're asking the board to say, what are the top 3 things that we want to be known for? And once we name those 3 things, then we'll break into our groups and we'll start trying to put some meat on the bones for those 3 things. Stan?
I just,
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that I know the 3 things, but when you earlier used the words learning and working, I think those really resonate. I mean, learning is an active thing. It's a verb. It's not education, which is static. Yeah. I like the idea that we would have, a dynamic word like learning. It's also a common word. It's not jargony. It's not a lot of buzzword. It's a common word that we're learning. That's what we're about. I think working is like that too. It suggests economic development. It suggests workforce development. It covers a lot of things. I don't know what the 3rd one is, and maybe it's caring, maybe it's changing, whatever it is. But I like the idea of a verb, that we are dynamic, we're moving, we're not just static. So.
Right. Say the 3 you said again.
Grow.
Grow.
So learning, working, growing.
Growing, yes, growing.
Oh,
there you go.
I like growing, but I also like the idea about moving into the future, so I'm wondering it could be exploring. Learning, working, and exploring.
That's good.
I like all the discussion, Dr. Williams. I remember I had a conversation, we talked about being known for something. I just want to add these 2 points, and we can move on or not. But I remember I had the opportunity of meeting Jack Kemp, who was Secretary of HUD one time. And he found out, he said, "Oh, you're from St. Petersburg, Florida." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "That's where Ecker College is." I said, "How did you know that?" He said, "Because I have 3 or 4 people in my office that went to Ecker, graduated from Ecker College, and they are the best writers that I have found in the country." That's what they're known for. They're known for creating an environment where they have effective communicators that are good writers. I met a kid last night at the Hotel Duval in Tallahassee, graduated from where? Ecker College. That was the first thing that came to my mind in the conversation I had 20 years ago. And I said, he said, "Yep, the last 2 years you have to go to this writing principle and program and so on." So you talk about being known for something, then we have to put a foundation together. So whatever this overarching thing is,
you know, you have to figure out, we got to figure out what that is and how do you nail down and actually drill down and be known for that. The other thing is, the last point I'll make is, we're talking about learning, we're talking about scholarship, we're talking about education, collegiate, all those things. When I pull up to a stoplight and I see every young person from 21 to 26 in a car and everybody's like this, they're looking down, whatever goes up there is one of those big things, we better be communicating it, as Mr. Goodman said earlier, to plain people or the people that we're trying to attract, right? And we know we don't communicate this scholarship, learning, all that stuff sounds like stuff. When I went to school, it's based on technology and how you're going to engage them. What sparks them to ask the next question? What makes them tick? It's not the same thing as it was 25 years ago when I went to school. So that, I mean, whatever it is, talking about the experiences on the college campus as one college, it needs to speak to a lot of people and make sure that all of them will engage in that particular, to ask the next question. That's why I said, when I look at economic opportunity and mobility, what's the next question? When I look at, you ask, what is that? Your community, your college, community, diversity, or whatever, you know, that thing right there, the third one. I can't see that part, so don't hold it against me. But that makes me ask the next question. The college experience just sounds like blah. The learning, even, I mean, I'm not trying to be, you know, funny, but scholarship, like, that just makes me think of money. Like, doesn't make me ask this question, like, how am I going to pay for this? Or is somebody paying for it for me? Or not paying for it? How, you know, it just sounds like a bunch of college stuff. Right? And if you're trying to engage these phones and other stuff is how these young people and other folks now communicate. They don't communicate like we do. So.
So I was going back to the verbs, and I have to apologize. I always prefer a table over a stool. So I find myself trying to come up with this fourth piece. But in the verb piece, learning, working, exploring, I think what's missing there is the community if you're thinking about going in that direction. And I would suggest in that one partnering. I mean, I think it's a big part of what we're trying to do as we go forward. So I heard Trustee Gibbons' comments, and I'm not sure if you guys are still considering that, but if you were considering those three, that would be a fourth I would strongly recommend.
As a former student and alumni, I was a high school dropout. I am who I am today because of this school. And I would like for us to convey that you can become a success when you go here. And it's affordable. Affordability it could be uppermost on that poverty-stricken person. I couldn't afford to go to USF when I first came back to school. I could afford to go here. And yet I got the best education here. I went to college. I'm a graduate of Petersburg College. My education was better here. Petersburg College built on what I learned here. USF built on what I learned here. This was the best foundation. I could have gotten anywhere in the country. I'm telling you, I feel very strongly about that. And I am so proud at graduation every time you ask for the alumni to stand up. I'm an alumni. And when I go to the grocery store, I ask the cashiers and the baggers, where are you going to school? And if they say SBC, I say, good for you, I went there too. And when I go into hospitals, I ask the nurses, I ask the aides. When I go to the dentist office, I ask the dental hygienist. I am so proud to be a Safety College graduate. And somehow, we've got to instill that in in one word sentence.
So I look forward to doing. Going back to Dr. Williams, we have a mission and a vision, and some of this conversation seems to imply that we need to adjust our mission and vision, which we may need to do. wordsmith it, I guess, because I think the plain language of our mission and vision is saying learning, working, doing, exploring. So for the sake of today's exercise, if we're trying to create the pillars upon which our vision and mission sit, they are supposed to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, a bit more specific, a bit more tangible. We're talking about what we're working toward that's going to get us to that peak of where we're going to be. Is that?
Exactly.
Okay. So I guess with that in mind, I would go back and look at our mission and vision and ask that perhaps we can come back and look at the words of those if we want to in the future to make it catchier and better, which I think is always a good thing. But promoting student success and enrich communities through education, career development, and self-discovery is our mission. So I agree that we could probably wordsmith that to make it more sexier, more engaging. But then what we sit on and how we would achieve that mission, I think, is providing the college experience however we say it, and making sure that our faculty and our deans and our students have those similar experiences. It is those other things we put up there. So I don't want to get stuck in the weeds on what seems to be wordsmithing a bigger vision or mission as opposed to our role today, which is over the next 3 years, what are the 3 or 4 things that we are really going to work on to be sure that we are achieving that vision?
And those 4 things, 3 or 4 things, will be the things that we use as a template for every decision we make. Is it going to help students learn? Will it get more people to work? Will it help us with partnerships? Will it improve this or that? So I think you're right, and the plan was to get our pillars together and then wordsmith the mission, vision, and values and bring that back to the board. So for today, we're hoping to get the 3 to 5 pillars by which we plan to stand on. I know we've gone around the room, and it may be difficult because I know we're going back and forth, but this is all a part of the plan. This is all a part of coming together as a college family and working collaboratively. And the board has done a great job. If you guys were in our conversations, you would have been really proud. It's good. And I was peeking at what you were writing as well as time went on. I do have to go back to Dr. Bidito and what he said about making it livable and breathable and something people can understand. Shannon, you talked about the versatility of all of our students. They're different, they're coming from different walks, and they need to be able to understand what we're doing. And we could take some simple words and snapshot those and pull what the board has. I'm totally married to economic opportunity and mobility. It's just something that I really like. But I also like the idea of the collegiate experience and believe that underneath learning, we would include the collegiate experience and components of that. That's a part of college. Working is what we're trying to get. Students are coming here to get a job. I don't care where they are, how they look. They want to get a job and have a better life. They want to improve their life. Partnerships, we already know this is an area that we're going to have to improve, whether it's a community partnership with a faith-based organization, or with the YWCA, or with Jable Circuit, or whoever. We've got to get those partnerships done and create workforce. Education, I know we talked about that. Community, we talked about being a part of that. I'm wondering if the board would consider the dialogue we've had and look at what we have up here to see if we can come up with some words that we can use, that we can add the legs on and say these are our pillars.
Well, I know, Devron, you don't like collegiate experience,
right.
And and Bridget, you didn't like Titan experience.
It's not that I don't like it. I think it's branding. I don't think
branding.
I think what she was trying to say was what I was trying to say.
Right.
Was these shouldn't be ambiguous. And to me, your future today is ambiguous. And to me, if you have to ask a question after you read what the statement is, it's ambiguous. I mean, I think it should be very specific, which is also what she was saying, in what we communicate. So that is all I was saying about the Titan experience.
Sure.
Because that means something different.
So do we want to change the collegiate experience, your community, and break out? We could change economic opportunity and mobility.
Well, let's keep in mind too that each of these will have short definitions after them, so they have to be a little bit ambiguous just in their original form, because they are going to be more clearly defined immediately after. It's going to be a short description, which would be hard to do, but
with both, descriptions.
We'll do both, yeah, we'll bring that back. Would the board be opposed to the notion of going with, like learning and partnering, and then we work on the meat and potatoes to it? I mean, like going with education or learn, grow.
I just think that's too general still.
Too general still?
Yeah.
Theirs is general.
Well, yeah, but
Education,
explaining, you know, for instance, workforce and economy. I'm reading Valencia's pillars, workforce and economy, and then they define it, building on our success producing technologists and professionals while expanding opportunity for advancement for the rest of the economy. So it needs to be somewhat general because we are about to define it in a better way.
So we agree number one is okay.
I'm fine with number
Economic
one.
opportunity and mobility. Is
One's good.
That one's good. Okay, so we got one.
Lock one in.
Okay, so for what phrase or words could we use to talk about student learning and success? Should we just say student learning and success is number two? And that'll capture the college experience, it'll capture.
See, I feel like that just doesn't leave room for, just as a college experience, and that's kind of why I like the word culture, but I understand why experience may be more relevant today. In my mind, this encompasses not only the student, but the faculty, the staff, administrative, everybody who has anything to do with the college.
Are we avoiding the student-ready college words for a reason? I mean, that's really that's where this started, right?
Would that be part of the definition?
I don't know.
behind
That's
it?
No, I mean, ready college will capture.
because then from there you're filtering down the campus experience, the faculty.
Could you call this college culture? College culture? And then define it from there.
Brian?
I don't want to take away from what the board is discussing, but what I'm envisioning after all this, just my 2 cents, is SPC, exploring the future today, pillars, learn, work, grow. And then define after learn, work, grow, what that means, kind of like Valencia has done. You could add a 4th partner. But it's simple, it's clean. I think it says what we're hoping it to say, and you can add a lot and build out subsets under those pillars. Just my 2 cents.
Any other comments, board members?
We have to make a decision today.
We'll change the ball anyway.
thoughts?
His title. His title. The title is SPJC.
I think we've said what our priorities are. The one campus, the transparent learning, or the transparent experience. I'm having a hard time getting that thought into learn, work, grow, partner. And I think that that's one of our values.
We have a comment.
Yes.
We use the term transform a lot among the groups, and to me, instead of grow, not to offend, we really are transforming lives, and that goes back to our vision and our mission. So if perhaps just a wordsmith of a word that might be able to define a little bit more closely. But we are transforming lives, not just helping people grow.
Thank you.
I think what the board is saying too, they're struggling with learn, work, and partner. Is that what you're saying?
With which one?
No, what you said change, learn to educate. But I think what I'm hearing though is the board kind of likes the economic opportunity, the performance, just thinking about
Collegiate culture.
We'll just have to figure out how to roll that out with people to understand it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they do. They're going to want to know what's in it for them, right? Like, what is this going to mean for
So
them?
I love having simple words, but I just want to make sure
But
what our true goals are can fit within those simple words.
Right.
I mean, and that's my struggle.
If you have learning, or educate, if you have educate, you can fill that with a lot of different things, whether it's educating students or faculty and staff with professional development and things of that nature. I think it's important for the board to be comfortable with the overarching goals, and then we will bring back the meat to it to say, does this meet what what you anticipate? But today, I really wanted to hear from you, along with the team, as to what do we want to be known for and improve for the next 3 years. I think economic mobility, opportunity mobility is clear. I think we want to be known for, to me, meeting the needs of the community and the people we serve is important. And you can put under there partnerships, internships, all kinds of things under meeting the need of the communities that we serve, the businesses, and the partnerships there. You can do that. We already said we're here to transform the lives of our students, our community, and our employees. So we're saying that's what we want to do. So transformation is a big piece. It goes back to the future idea. So we've got some good opportunities. We just got to narrow them down.
So I've been thinking about this for weeks, and I struggle to. I want something that's general enough that we can add to it, and everybody can go to their respective places of work and bring back amazing ideas to add meat to what we're doing here. However, I still think that just using the words learn, grow, work don't give us enough of a vision of what we want to do specifically over the next 3 years and what we want to be known for and what direction. I understand there's a definition that will come after that, but I don't think the definition would be long enough to clearly define what learn, work, grow is. So I am still leaning towards economic opportunity and mobility. There are a million different things we can add underneath that, but that is something that we have to strive to be at the center at and to be known for. I love your community, your college. That opens the door to everyone in our area for what we are.
Is that a branding thing, or is that a?
I don't think.
Okay.
I think we just need to define what exactly that means, and I think the only one I'm trying to figure out what the wording could be better on is collegiate culture, but that is something I personally want to work on. I want these students to be engaged. They are already, but we can be better at that. And I want those that work here to love the culture of St. Petersburg College. And I want to make sure that culture, that experience is front and center in our minds with a lot of the decisions that we make. So that's where I'm leaning right now. I think we can add a lot underneath those. I would really like us to paint this picture and paint this vision to be a little more descriptive than learn, work, and grow.
Do you believe that under your community and your college you can address culture?
I think your community, your college is more external, and the collegiate culture that we're trying to talk about is internal to the campus.
And that can cover one college, everything. There's a lot that can fall into that.
I like it.
Good for you.
I think we have some consensus because a lot of what I heard can be pigeonholed. The future tomorrow, the future today, the Titan experience, the Titan culture, I still think economic opportunity and abilities, that's my number one. I think we're trying to help our students get living wage jobs in their degree field or certificated field, and that's and there's a lot of things that go under that, partnerships with businesses, and I think we've got enough to work with, but I keep coming back to that.
2 more quick comments, and then we're going to go to our teams. Please, Tom.
Hi, I think we're getting too bogged down with words. I think that the collegiate culture and experience. I feel like we're getting too bogged down with words. I think that the collegiate culture and experience pretty much engulfs everything that we need it to say. When we start adding littler or smaller words or words that are very simple and too much, maybe we lose it. So I think that the collegiate culture and experience is probably the best thing. As a student, that's what I would look at.
She has experience.
I thought of 3 words that perhaps could be pillars, educate, collaborate, and celebrate. Each one of those words encompass all of your suggestions and ideas that I've seen here that we've debated throughout the last hour and a half, but educate, collaborate, and celebrate encompasses each and every word description that's been tossed out.
Shouldn't the pillars be a noun? And then the action or the verb word be how we operationalize and build the goals and objectives from the pillars, which should define our mission and our vision. So the action words or the verbs are how we will operationalize the pillars, make them something that everybody can relate to as to now how do I learn, work, grow, transform, partner, educate, etc.
It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that as we come up with these 3 or 4 general pillars and ideas, or more specific pillars and ideas, and then define them today, there will be an opportunity over the next 4 or 5 weeks to wordsmith this a little bit and make sure that it looks and sounds the right way. what we're trying to do today is come up with the big picture idea, narrow it down a little bit, and then let people run with it, think about it, chew on it, and finalize it. Yes?
So I'm just looking at these other pillars, and I want to echo what Dr. Cooper was saying and what Trustee Bellows said, and also Dr. Williams. What do we want to be known for? We don't want to be known for learn, that word. We want to be known for providing quality education. Economic mobility and opportunity is perfect. So that's where I'm seeing this, and maybe I'm misguided. I'm kind of with that mind for getting so down into the weeds.
Yeah.
What are these 3 or 4 or 5 things that we want people to, within 1 or 2 words, be able to say, this is what we are known for? We're known for providing you with economic opportunity and mobility, giving you the best education in the area, providing a community of care. I don't know, that's the way I'm reading this, as opposed to learn or work or grow or celebrate or collaborate. I think it's, what are we giving to people? What is our product?
Deveron, go ahead. We're going to push forward.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was going to say, no, it's all right. What I would say is we have a catch-all, right? And then now we get the second tier information. We always go back and change what it is, and we come up after we look at what's underneath that, and that gives everybody some time to kind of read. We're just trying to press it today, and it's not happening. It's not something that everybody can get on and catch it. So let's just move on, get the second tier of information, and maybe that gives us, we can come back to it and say, this is what we see this as, right? Because maybe that will spark something that we don't have today, if we're not going to that way.
We're going to move forward with these 3 right now, and I appreciate everyone's comments and the conversation that we've been able to have. And we're going to continue to work on this. And Andrea, if you can fill us in on our next phase.
Mr. Chair, maybe you have an email that we can send suggestions to as well.
Thank you. All right, so good work. Yeah. So we have next round are 7 teams, and find your team assignment on your agenda packet. We're going to accelerate the definition phase. So what that means is on round 2, which is defining the strategic pillars, how many of you are in teams 1 and 2? Please raise your hands. Teams 1 and 2. And each team has probably a Board of Trustee member and or Dr. Williams or Senior Vice President. Teams 1 and 2, you all are going to be working on Pillar 1 definition, which is economic opportunity and mobility. And you will go in a moment to the forest. Who are in teams 3 and 4? Please raise your hands. You all will work on defining your community, your college. And then 5, 6, and 7, teams 5, 6, and 7, please raise your hands. All right, the majority of you will work on the 3rd pillar, which is the collegiate culture, defining what that means. Team 5 will be in the forest lab. Teams 6 and 7 will be right here in the back here in the tropics. Once you get to your teams, you'll elect a keyboarder, and for whatever pillar you've been assigned, you brainstorm definitions. Make them brief, succinct, and very targeted. So brainstorm definitions, like so. And then what we'll do is we will ask you to identify maybe your top 2 or 3 definitions and drag them over to the top definitions bucket. We'll give you about 10 minutes to work on definitions for your strategic pillar. Identify the top 2 or 3, drag them over to the top definitions, and we'll literally reconvene in about 15 minutes to review all the top definitions. Sound good? All right, thank you.
We're going over there.
Oh, we are?